Hi, this is Jaya. In this video, we shall see the summary of My Magic Brocade, a folktale from China. This folktale teaches valuable lessons about kindness, gratitude, and the power of generosity. We find the story opening with a family where we find a widow who's living with her three sons in a small village in southern China. She makes money from weaving. She is very famous for weaving and creating designs of flowers, animals, and birds that appear as though they are alive. Every day she will go to the market, sell them, get the money, and with that she was feeding her sons. One day she went to the market to sell her brocade. At that time, she saw a portrait of a beautiful palace built next to the rolling hills, which was surrounded by beautiful gardens. She was so much attracted by the portrait that she bought it. She showed the picture to her sons. Her first two sons were disappointed because she had wasted the money on the portrait. Instead of that, they wanted her to buy some food and give it to them. But the youngest son encouraged his mother. He told her, if you like this portrait so much, why don't you make this design in your next brocade? Immediately the widow sat down to weave, and she kept on weaving. She could not come out of it. She could not sleep. She could not eat. She was weaving and weaving and weaving for years. And her eyes started watering. The tears she made into rivers. And sometimes she pricked her fingers, and when the blood came out, she used it to color the flowers. 3 years went by. The elder two sons were disappointed because now for food they had to chop the wood and go and sell it. So they were complaining to their mother. But the youngest boy said that he will take the responsibility of the family, and he encouraged his mother to pursue her dream. And at the end of the third year, she had finally completed the brocade. Now she wanted to show the brocade to her son, so she rolled the brocade open. At that time, a wind swept and came and carried the brocade away. Seeing a brocade being carried away, she was heartbroken and she fell down. And she cried to her elder son to go and search for it. So he went in search of the brocade, and while he was going, he came across an old woman. And when he asked her about the brocade, she said that she knew where the brocade was, and she told him that it was taken away by the fairies, because the palace which his mother had woven was the palace of the fairies. And since they loved the brocade a lot, they wanted to copy it and make their own brocades. So they had carried away. And that is the instructions they had given to the wind, and the wind had obeyed them. And she also gave him an idea how to get it back. She said that he has to knock his two teeth and place it in the stone house which was near a place. And then this stone house will come to life. Afterwards, he must allow the stone house to eat 10 pieces of fruit from the special tree which was there. And then afterwards, if he sits on top of the horse will help him to cross the flames of fire mountain, and then he has to cross the icy sea. And then afterwards, he has to go to the palace of the fairies. But one condition is, when he is crossing the flames of fire mountain or when he is crossing the icy sea, he should not utter even one word of complaint, because if he does so, he will disappear. He will die. Otherwise, he can do one thing. She is willing to give a bag of gold which he can take back home and make his mother happy. The boy thought it is difficult for him to not complain and cross a fire of mountain and the icy sea. Instead, he felt that this bag of gold is more appealing, so he took the bag of gold from the old lady and started coming back. But while he was returning, he did not want to share this gold with others. He wanted the gold for himself, and he thought that this bag of gold is enough for his lifetime. So instead of returning home, he went off to the opposite direction. After waiting for 2 months for the son to return, the widow asked her next son to go in search of the brocade. The same thing happened to the second son, and he also decided to keep the gold for himself, so he also went off in a different direction. Now the third son decided to go out and look for the brocade himself. He also came, he also met the old women, and the old women said the same to him. But here the third son decided to take the journey for his mother. Without thinking, he immediately broke his two teeth and placed it in front of the stone house. Immediately it came to life, and then he allowed it to eat 10 fruits from the tree. And then he sat on top of the horse and started going towards the land of fairies. He passed through the flames of mountain, and as he was passing, his body was burning. The fire was burning his flesh, but he did not utter even a single word of complaint. He maintained, he just tolerated the pain. Then he came to the icy sea. It was frozen, and another thing is, the ice was even showering like a rain on him, which made him tremble. But even here he did not complain. He passed the icy sea, and then he entered into the land of fairies. He saw the palace, he entered into the palace. There he saw 100 fairies copying his mother's brocade. One fairy looked at him, and immediately he introduced himself and said the purpose why he had come there. The fairy was very happy to see him, and she said, "Your mother's brocade is so beautiful, we are not able to copy it to the same perfection, but we are trying the best." And they said that we are almost on the verge of completing, we will finish it today. And so they requested him to give them just one night time, and in that time they asked him to eat and take rest, and they will complete copying the brocade that night, and he can take the brocade next day and he can leave. Since he understood the situation, he agreed to it, and he was given a very good feast. He ate it. He was so tired that he fell asleep. And all the fairies were copying the brocade, and they were completing, and one by one they were leaving the room. One fairy, that is the fairy who saw him first and spoke with him, she loved the brocade so much that after completing the mother's brocade, she made a copy of herself in that brocade, in the mother's brocade. That is the brocade which was made by the younger son's mother. In that brocade, she made a copy of her image in that brocade, and she after completing it, she folded and kept it next to him. He was sleeping, she kept it next to him, and she went off. And when he woke up, he did not see any of the fairies, but the brocade was next to him. So he took the brocade, he sat on the horse and returned to the old woman. Immediately the old woman took the teeth from the horse and returned it back to the boy, and he was again the same young handsome boy which he was already, and now he was ready to leave. But now the old woman said, "Your mother is very sick, so just take these shoes. Once you step into the shoes, you will be in your house and you can meet your mother." The same way, he stepped into the shoes and he found himself standing in front of his house. He went inside and he saw his mother. Hearing him and seeing the brocade, the woman was very happy. The widow got up, she came out and she opened the brocade to see. And when she was rolling it outside, the brocade started coming to life because the wind blew. And as it blew, the palace, the garden, everything came to life and in front of them. Now there was a new home they have to live in. And above all, the fairy had so weaved herself, her image in that brocade. She also was alive inside the garden. The son caught hold of his mother and he also jumped into that brocade. So he also was there inside the place, the new palace. They all went into the palace. They saw around. They were very happy. Soon the fairy and the youngest son got married and lived happily ever after. After a few days, the two oldest sons, they had spent all the gold. The gold was spent in the same manner how it came. It came to them fast, it left them fast, and soon they became beggars, and they were crossing that side. And when they saw this palace, they knew that it was the same palace which their mother was sewing. And on the palace, near the place, they saw their mother, their younger brother, and a beautiful lady, that is the fairy, very happily together. They felt ashamed and guilty of what they had done. They did not have any face to go and meet them. So they just moved away and went, and this is the story. It's a beautiful folk tale from China. If you have anything more to add on to what I've said, please write it in the comment box. Like the video, share it with your friends, and if you not subscribe my channel, please subscribe. Thank you.